Yeah, this is going to be a great matchup this week. Let's get a front office view of this pivotal AFC East showdown with our two GMs, Rick Spielman and Scott Pioli. Rick, is Buffalo at Miami the game of the week for you?
Well, I think it's definitely a big game, but there are also other big games. And if you ask any other GM or head coach, their game's a big game too. But you got Green Bay down in Tampa, you got Vegas and Tennessee, both are 0-2. They both desperately need a win, Baltimore and New England. And I think Thursday night game, there's a lot riding on that game as well. But this is going to be a big game. And when I looked at the schedule, and I was down in Miami during training camp, and I knew they had a tough 4 games to start with. And they're 2-0 right now. And then they got Buffalo this week at home, and then they have a short week next week to go to Cincinnati. But I thought if they came out 500 or better, they were definitely going to be a playoff contender and a legit playoff contender.
Yeah, there are a lot of people. There are a lot of people in the CBS Sports newsroom here that are getting their Tua apology letters ready because they're writing him off at the beginning of the season. But through those first 4 games, trying to see how things go. Scott, I want to come to you. I mean, Super Bowls are not won in week 2, but what kind of a marker will this result lay down no matter which way it goes?
It's an important marker because right now the Miami Dolphins have made some progress. We see a team that's better. They've got a new coach. It's a whole new group of people out there. So now they're going against one of the best, or arguably the best teams in the National Football League, and it's also within the division. So to me, this is an important game for them to see where they're at. But as Rick mentioned, head coaches and general managers, our primary job is to not only eliminate distractions, get our team ready, but to manage expectations. You can't have a game in week 3 in a 17-game season either make you feel too good about yourself or make you feel too bad about yourself. It is one of 17. What the Miami Dolphins want to do is show progress, show that they've gotten better, because the Buffalo Bills have gotten better. So the Dolphins also show that they have gotten better as a football team.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off you, Scott, the one thing that I think is going to be critical in this game, and I got an opportunity to watch some of Buffalo defense, and they have really eliminated the big explosive plays downfield, especially in the passing game. And right now, that's what Tua and that's what Miami's offense is. So in order for Miami to really come out and have an opportunity to win this game, I understand it's going to be in the heat. It's going to be at home. But they're going to really have to do something against a very stout Buffalo defense.
And let's talk about what they're going to have to do with Job 4, presented by Jiffy Lube. And of course, the focus for this is Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa. You guys have already mentioned Tua and the performance that he's had. I mentioned his critics as well, but he's got plenty of backers. I mean, Tuanon has been on it this week after the 6-touchdown performance against Baltimore. If you talk down Tua on social media, you're going to hear about it. Tua tied a Dolphins record for passing touchdowns in a game with his 6, joining Bob Greasy and Dan Marino. And his 4 touchdowns in the fourth quarter tied an NFL record. He leads the league in passing and is tied for the lead in completions and touchdown passes of 10 or more yards. So, Rick, if the Dolphins are going to beat the Bills, it will be a job for Tua Tagovailoa, won't it?
Yeah, it'll be a job for him, but I also think that Miami's going to have to establish some kind of running game, which they really haven't done yet, in order to keep Josh Allen and the Buffalo offense off the field and try to control the time of possession. But it's remarkable what Tua has done in these first 2 games. If you look at last year, his plus 10 throws down the field, 1 touchdown, 7 interceptions, and that's completely flipped. But and then, again, I know that's because they have Tyreek Hill, they have Waddle, so they've added a lot of pieces, but it's amazing the transformation on what Tua's gone through in at least these first 2 weeks.
And Rick, I agree. It's going to be a big job, I think, for Tua, but it's also going to be a big job for the defense to slow down Josh Allen and the Bills' offense. But as you look at Tua, I think one of the things he's going to have to be really smart about is to trust his skilled players and to trust Mike McDaniel's game planning, because Mike is going to put him in a position to make sure that he's successful. And I think a big part of what can help this team and what Tua can do is not have to think about going too deep too early. He knows he's got Waddle. He knows that he's got Tyreek Hill. But Rick, you mentioned a great point. This is going to be down in the heat in Miami. And what's going to be important is if he goes short and sideways, if he gets the defensive front and the defensive front 7 on the run, chasing, that will tire the Buffalo Bills defense out. This way, it gives them a better shot to get deep later on, because possibly slow down the pass rush. As you know, one of the best ways to slow down a pass rush is short, sideways, screens, draws. So they'll need to use the game plan. And if Tua pays attention to those things and trusts the process, they'll be just fine.
Job 4, presented by Jiffy Lube here on CBS Sports HQ. Scott, sorry, what were you going to say? Or sorry, Rick, what were you going to say?
Rick, I'm sorry, I said to make sure that Buffalo has those dark blue jerseys on like they made New England wear week 1.
Yeah, the temperature is expected to be 86
sure.
degrees at game time on Sunday, so it is going to be a warm one. Expecting some clouds, possibly some showers later in the afternoon, but it's certainly going to be a hot one at Hard Rock Stadium. All right, so we talked about Tua Tagovailoa. Let's talk about Bills quarterback Josh Allen. I mean, he's the MVP favorite. Scott, you had a pretty good quarterback in New England there. How much easier does Brandon Beane sleep at night as a general manager with this guy as your quarterback?
You sleep a lot easier when you got a guy who can do the job back there. And I'll tell you, one of the things that we've seen out of Josh Allen is this progression. You know, when he came to Buffalo, what he arrived with was terrific tools and a tremendous work ethic. Brian Daboll and Sean McDermott taught him good work habits. And I talked to Brian a number of times during this guy's rookie year, meaning in Josh Allen's rookie year, and Daboll said that he was there all the time. So he's taken that strong work ethic, developed good work habits, become a top player. But Rick, I would like to hear your thoughts on this. But to me, when you see a good or very good quarterback take it to the next level, the thing that they have to do is make the offense their own. And I understand Ken Dorsey's there, and he's going to help Josh Allen a lot. But that next step, that evolution to rare and to elite, is when the quarterback takes the offense over. It becomes more of his. He does more with checks. He does a lot more of the dictating in terms of the plays that are going to happen. And it also energizes the entire football team. But he's on his way.
Yeah, and I don't know. He looks like he may be doing that right now with the confidence he's playing with. And you got to give Dabo credit developing him, because he did have all these raw tools when he came out. The one criticism was that he has such a rocket for an arm, they didn't know how to put touch on the ball. And his deep ball accuracy has tremendously improved, and you can tell he's put a lot of time and energy into that. But I thought Ken Dorsey has done a fantastic job working a game plan that fits his skill set, getting Diggs involved in the play. And when you watched him in these first 2 games, and even you go back to the Kansas City game and they lost, I mean, he is playing at an elite level, and he's just going to get better because he's playing with such high confidence right now.
Well, new Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel is the second favorite to win Coach of the Year. It's 7-1, the odds on Caesar Sportsbook this morning. And he's getting praise for how he's designed this offense to maximize Tua's strengths. Scott, how impressed are you with what McDaniel has done both on the field and off the field?
And Jeremy, you know, I spent time with Mike McDaniel. We were together at the Atlanta Falcons for a number of years, and I got to know him well, not just as a coach, but as a person. And here's the thing. Everyone always leads with Mike about being a Yale guy. But here's the thing. On top of being a smart person, he's very, very thoughtful. He pays attention to the mood of a room, the mood of players. He knows how to motivate. He doesn't try to be the smartest guy in the room, which is sometimes a disease of people that have a high intellect. He knows that having knowledge that he has is very important, but he also knows that it's more important that he can convey the knowledge that he has. So to me, watching him coach the way that he's coaching and be real with his players, it's very apparent they are gravitating towards him. He's not trying to be the smartest guy in the room. Here's the other thing that I'll say about Mike, too, that really helps him with his team and with his players. He's very funny, and people, like I said, just gravitate towards him as a coach. The other last thing that I'll mention is, in terms of coaching and his background, he was a student not only under Kyle Shanahan and Mike Shanahan, but he learned the running game also from Bobby Turner, who's one of the most underrated, unspoken about running back coaches in the history of this game. So Mike knows how important the running game is and the threat of the running game and being able to work the play action pass off of that.
Yeah, Scott, he reminds me of Bill Nye, the science guy, on how many things did he come up with for the opposite side of the ball. I know when I was down there covering it, everybody was saying, hey, they're going to have to run the ball. Tua can be a game manager. Just get the ball out quickly into the playmaker's hands and let's go. But as things evolve, and when they didn't run the ball as effectively as they probably wanted to in the preseason, Mike went ahead and made some adjustments. And I don't think there's a better coach right now, and for as young as he is, to understand the strengths of his players and the weaknesses of his players and design plays that really highlight everybody's strengths. And he's doing that right now, and that's why they're 2-0. Plus, the energy that he brought at practice, there was no negativity. It was all positive reinforcement. And I think the players are really buying into his message and buying into his style of coaching.
Rick and Jeremy, one other thing I do want to mention about Mike and the time that I spent with him, and Rick, you will absolutely love this. He was one of the best personnel evaluators that I've been around that is a football coach, because as we know, not all coaches are great personnel evaluators. They are great at X's and O's, but some of them have difficulty understanding the important things in terms of evaluation. The amount of time and energy that he put in during draft season, during free agency, and got it right in terms of evaluating players, particularly receivers and running backs, he was right on. So he, as you mentioned, he knows what his players can and can't do and makes it a part of his play calling.
And just real quick, I know that they talked about Gesicki, and, he's not going to fit in this offense. He can't run block. All of a sudden, you've seen last week in the Baltimore game, he made 4 catches that had an impact in the game. One went for a touchdown.
Well, the thing with McDaniel, too, I mean, he's been in the league a long time, right? He's been in the league since 2005, part of that Mike and Kyle Shanahan coaching tree. Yeah. So, I mean, it's not like he's coming in as a rookie. He's a guy who's well established in terms of his football mind, isn't he, Scott?
Yeah, no, he, as you mentioned, he's been around for a long time. And here's the thing. He's been a part of success and he's been a part of failure. That is an important thing as you're becoming a football person in terms of a head coach and a general manager. And as I mentioned, during that entire time, he was with Bobby Turner, who was in Washington, then was with us in Atlanta with Kyle Shanahan as the offensive coordinator, and then he was also with him out in San Francisco. So he understands the running game, and he learned under some incredible people, and you can see it in his play calling and also how he prepares his team. He is highly, highly detailed, like Mike Shanahan and like Kyle Shanahan.
All right, well, this game is the 1 p.m. game on CBS. Bills favored by 5.5, the total sitting at 53 and a hook. How do you see this game going, Rick?
Well, Miami's been a great feel-good story. It's been 2-0, and like I said earlier, they got Bill Nye the Science Guy designing all kinds of stuff to come up and win games the way he's been winning. But the Buffalo Bills, to me, are the most dominant team in the NFL right now. They have won the last 7 matches they had with the Miami Dolphins. And the way Josh Allen is playing, the way Buffalo's defense is playing, I know Scott is going to give a great prediction as well, but I'm going to say that that's going to be hard to beat the Buffalo Bills. The other thing that really stood out was that Buffalo had such an emotional win to open up the season on Thursday night against the Super Bowl champs in their stadium. And then when they came back and played last Monday night, it was another dominant performance. So they are laser focused, and I think they'll end up beating the Miami Dolphins. Scott, your prediction?
My prediction is it's going to be one heck of a good football game. I don't understand bucks, hooks, overs, unders. An over and under is a front on a defense. So to me, I think we're going to see a terrific football game.
Yeah, what's your prediction? Pain, right? That's what Mr. T said back in the Rocky days. Pain.
Exactly right.
The CBS Sports HQ GM Roundtable. Scott Pioli, Rick Spielman talking about that AFC East showdown between the Bills and the Dolphins. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Always great to chat with you as we take a look at some of the highlight games in terms of that 1 p.m. window, games that you'll be able to see on CBS. Of course, we mentioned it's going to be rocking in Miami Gardens on Sunday. There's going to be croquetas eaten. Cuban coffee consumed. Tables are going to be broken.
What is that croqueta again?
It's like a potato thing. It's kind of like a tater tot. Temps set to hit 86 at game time. I'm going to hear about that on social media. Also, Houston at Chicago. That's a good one. Houston chasing their first win. Got that one in there for you, Haas. And,
did you say that Houston and Chicago is a good one?
That was for you, buddy. Kansas City, Indianapolis. Also, Mahomes 11-1 since November 1st of last year. Check out your local listings if you want to watch those games, especially that Bears game. 2.5-point favorites there. Haas.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.